So I just posted a little complaint about life. It's been a few days since I've complained to you all. No, that's not what I mean. It's just an expression. I just needed to express, and I've just done that. And I'm hoping to keep this video quite a bit lighter, quite a bit more positive, and it might actually be quite interesting, if not correct. You'll see what I mean in a bit. But essentially I had another download recently. It's kind of filled in a few blanks to so the way I view spirituality is like one of those old classic arcade games, you know, the ones where you walk around like a medieval world, not a medieval, Middle Earth world, and you go around with a sword and you collect chests and prizes and blah blah blah. That's a bit like how my spirituality is, in the sense of with each of those games you tend to have like a little map, and as you walk around the world the map reveals itself to you. And that's really what my mental health is like. The more I take in information and play around with it and see how it fits to all the other information, I get like a little map, and then all of a sudden I'll get this little bit of information here, and this area that was just didn't exist all of a sudden opens up, like a huge area just from a little bit of information as to what's going on with spirituality and reality. And that's what's happened recently, and I thought I'd share that with you. And it really does link in quite a few different key bits of information. And as much as I've not really had a chance to reflect on it, to iron out any how can we put it, I haven't had the chance to reflect on it to really see how accurate it is, to play around with the details myself and get sure on what is and what isn't. But I'm going to share it with you nonetheless. I'm going to share it with you nonetheless as it is now. So going forward, it's likely to change, and as I said, a little bit of information can change it quite a bit, so just keep that in mind. But for what it is, it does look like, how can I put it? It does look like what the situation actually is. So here we go. Right, where do we start? Where do we start? We start with my uncle. My uncle trained in a Taoist energy practice, the Healing Tao system by Mantak Chia. Essentially it's Qigong, but it incorporates a more comprehensive understanding of the human, because the human has different bodies, so to speak, the physical body, energy body, mental body. It really does incorporate a lot more. Therefore it's called the Healing Tao system, because its implementation, as I understand, is probably more healing. You know, it's not, right, this is Qigong, come and train, get fit, and you look a bit more alive. This is more comprehensive. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. Anyway, he came away with the knowledge of this system, and he created his own Qigong system called the 5-body Qigong. That's my uncle's adaptation of what he was taught, and he passed that on to me without there being a lot of physical training involved. I know he would have made sure I would have understood everything that 5-body Qigong encompassed before he passed away. And I know that's in me, as much as I can't sit here and say to you, this is what 5-body Qigong is. I know he's put that in me and instilled that in me. But with the latest download, I think it's possibly the reason why. Now, where do we start with this? Right, we start with Earth 2012, a consciousness awakening, yeah? Now, my understanding is once upon a time, something happened to the planet whereby, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the Aboriginal man, black man, red man, the whales or what, or just nature, but something began to decay, something began to die. And the plan was put in place to rectify it, to save them. Are you ready for this? It's really mad, but it's beautiful at the same time. Now, okay, my understanding so far is that Red Indians came to the planet 13,000 years ago when Mars began to die. Yeah, how crazy is that? Now, the reason they came to the planet, because their planet was dying, was because through a conscious effort they took the suffering of whatever it was on this planet that was dying. So say it was Aboriginal man, or say it was the whales and they were falling off, the Martians, in their love synchronized themselves with that decay, and they took that decay away from the whales or the Aboriginal man, and they took it to Mars. Now, the second that happened, or the moment that happened, there was a creation of a alternate system with the flower of life through the work of Translow Melchizedek. So basically, we're talking about real high advanced spiritual dynamics of the universe. And they created a template for the new model of the Earth, because my understanding is they needed to do something different. They needed to break a spiritual law of sorts for it to be instigated. And the only way to do that was if the Martians were essentially dying and fighting for their lives. So they created this model, this flower of life framework for the Earth, and the Martians took the suffering of the whales or the Aboriginal man and they took it to Mars. And the second they took that decay, that suffering, and they began to die essentially, they left Mars and they came in and they took, now this is the key, they took the last place, the last spot on the flower of life framework for the Earth. Now ordinarily, you're not allowed to take. Ordinarily, you're meant to always ask, always get permission, you know. But for some reason, they had to take. And in them taking the last spot, as a means for their own preservation, it instigated something, and this is where we've been ever since as a species. And I think this is the reason that all the wars and everything have been taking place. It all dates back to this. So the Red Indians came to Earth, and with that decay, I'm not sure if they brought the consciousness of essentially fighting and killing each other, because the Red Indians are known for fighting amongst themselves, yeah? And it's possible that they instigated that consciousness within the Earth, because we possibly need to heal this consciousness. So that's the story of how the Red Indians came to Earth, yeah? This might actually be quite a long story, but there'll be quite a bit of information shared, and I'm in a place to keep it light, so it might actually be interesting, this one. The Red Indians came to Earth. Now, it's always bugged me, what the hell happened with India, Pakistan, you know, that area? How? Because look, you've got Aboriginal man, and as I understand it, Aboriginal man, woman are the first, are the original humans. They were the first, and they're brown skinned, and it's okay to say that. And the Red Indians, it's like they're brown skinned but angry, or they've been on another planet for such a length of time that the pigment of the sand in that planet has affected the brown, and they've turned a slight red. So it's safe to call Red Indians red skinned. You look at the other side of the planet to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all of that area, and they're definitely brown skinned, you know? So you look at the migration of the species, and I've never been able to figure it out how such a large population of brown skinned people went from Australia to India and the Himalayas, that area of the world. And last night I think it clicked, because again, this is all my uncle, and I think we had a strange way of communicating, and I think he's put this there for me. And it's like little things like this, they might not sound like an obvious connection for anyone else listening, but for myself, I think it's as I said, I need to reflect, but I'm pretty sure it's the situation. So my uncle said to me, what was it? It was something about wearing the clothes of the people, basically. That I'll wear the clothes of the people, you know? And it just never really clicked. I'm looking around the world, I'm thinking, what am I going to wear? African clothes, they look kind of cool, colourful. Or am I going to go more simplistic and wear something like what they wear in the Middle East? Because that just looks pure comfortable, and you don't have the colour of the clothes from Africa that mess with the mind and the not mess, but affect the mind and the senses on some level. They're a bit more plain and a bit more zen, you know, that sort of energy. So I've always been thinking, what am I going to wear? This type of clothes or that type of clothes? And then it clicked with another bit of spiritual information I've been playing with for a while. Well, I say playing with. That's been going on in my mind by itself. It's like my mind has been fighting with this thing about India. And how did the brown man get to India expanding population, and not only expand, but it's like the body's changed as well. I mean, they've got the colour of the skin, without a shadow of a doubt, but the body, the physique, the posture is different from Aboriginal man. And then it clicked. Because, how can I put this? I might have to backtrack on this, but how can I put it? As I said, you look at the Red Indians, you can see their brown skin, but the way of life, I'd say mentality, but simply their way of life, the anger, you know, the proudness, the I am here, I'm not going to allow my land to be taken, but I'm a spiritual being and I have understanding, you know, that sort of attitude. It sets a tone, an energy, and it's almost like an anger, but it's a more conscious anger, and nonetheless it's a red energy. And you can see that in them. Sorry, this is a tend machine on my hand. I've got I don't know what it is, but it's sorry, I've got a bit of pain in my hand, and it's just remedying pain. That's what the sticker on my hand is. Now, just in utter sincerity, my mind has been reflecting on the body of Indians, so to speak. This is how my mind works with spirituality. There's no racism. It's just pure inquisitiveness and childlike inquiry. And I've just been reflecting on the bodies, reflecting on the bodies. And then there's been this other thing that's come into play of an egg. And I've been experiencing similar things with my own body, how it's possible to almost create an egg-like structure within the physical body that's made of energy and creates this like type of posture within the body. And it's almost like that's how Indians look to me. There's a very strong connection to that idea, and it references back to when I saw this Indian guru, Sadhguru, perform this ceremony with this egg, where he had this large egg. It's probably porcelain, or it's not a real egg, but obviously, but he covered it with flowers, he covered it with all these different things, and then he set it on fire. And I look at most Indians, and they almost look like they carry that consciousness within their physical body. You know, it's almost like I've encompassed my consciousness within an egg, and you can beat the shit out of me, you can set me on fire, and I'll still be here. You know, highly advanced beings, you know, they've got the spiritual understanding from thousands of years ago, from the Vedas and the culture, and it's almost like, right, we've got work to do. We've got people that are dying. We've got the Red Indians that have left their planet. Let's put it on hold. We're going to work. And then they've made themselves into this egg-like structure. And the Indians are at work, you know. But like, no more Bollywood for the whole country on a daily basis. No more Ayurvedic healing. No more fresh food. You know, the consciousness is all there in it. But it's so not apparent within a large scale of everyday Indians. From the Indians I've interacted with over here, from what I see, it's just like the consciousness that they have isn't being implemented. And that says to me they're at work in a different way. So that's the start, yeah? Now how did it click? How did it click? I'm not going to be able to tell you how it clicked. I can't remember. I'll tell you the story. My theory is this. That Indians are actually Pleiadian. Now, Pleiadians are tall, white, light beings. You know, they're totally pure. If anything, the person on the planet who is the spiritual master for the planet at the moment, from my understanding, the Thich Nhat Hanh, he's affected more people through mindfulness than anything. As I said, the mainstream CBT implements mindfulness, and as I would guess, he's probably touched more people on the planet than anybody else. And he's Pleiadian. He looks a bit like ET, but he's definitely Pleiadian. You can tell by the ears. So, I've sussed on that. I've made a guess that Indians are from the Pleiades. This connects into Dromvlo Melchizedek's work, where he says 7 planetary energies travel from planet to planet to awaken the planet, to bring them out of suffering and darkness, self-destruction. And if you know the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, there's 7 planets. And that clicked, that's what clicked. Because that element doesn't really tie into everything else that I've been understanding. And I almost thought Dromvlo made it up. So I actually cast it away a week or 2 ago. And it's come back to me that the 7 planetary energies are the Pleiades. And they've come here to Earth to awaken us from our suffering and self-destruction. So it's almost like the Red Indians, who must have been enlightened themselves, have come here to play out a role. Like, we fight, we're aggressive, yeah? So we can see the self-destruction, the killing, the murder, in an enlightened being who's able to control his actions within a very sick action, to teach those who are a little bit more ignorant. Ironically, the people that invaded the Red Indians' country and took their land. But no doubt the Red Indians were aware of that. No doubt they knew that was coming. And no doubt the people that invaded wanted to see the Red Indians as aggressive. Because, anyway, you can see where I'm going with that. I've not thought about it enough to articulate it anymore, that element. But coming back to India and the Pleiadians, yeah? Now, can you imagine these Pleiadians walking around, you know, in pure light, you know, pure love? We'd crumble as human beings. I've got so many problems as a human being. If I saw pure love walking about, I'd die. You know, it'd bring out all the problems in me to the surface, and I'd be like a ravaged beast. You know, I'd be like, compared to pure love, I'm essentially darkness. So what they've done, they've hid their light. This is the Taoist principle as well. Hide your light. So what they did, they took the clothes of the people, and the people are the Aboriginals. So when the Pleiadians came to Earth, they wore the clothes of the people, the brown skin. And it gets better. Yeah? So India. This is how Pleiadians have come to Earth through India, are going to enlighten the whole planet. They've come to India, they've taken the skin of the people, the clothes of the people, because their consciousness. And it's almost like I see them levitating within the egg. So the egg shape, yeah, if you look at someone, the egg shape is like within the torso of the body, from the shoulders to the hips, the pelvis and round. And almost see like, you know, an Indian guru levitating within that egg, you know, sitting there peacefully, carrying on with their day, taking all the shit of the world, working, but pure consciousness, pure peace, and levitating within that egg. That's how I see them. Then it tied in with Alexander the Great story from before, because he went to India. And what happened is, when he went to India, you know, he'd conquered all of the Middle East apparently, got his way to India, and he said, right, I'm here, I'm going to take the land. The guru's this is what my teacher taught me in school, and it's stuck with me ever since. And the guru turned around and said to Alexander the Great, what, you want to take our land? And Alexander said, great, I've got my army here, I'm going to take the land. And the guru said, okay, and when I die, can I be buried here? And Alexander said, yeah, sure, take it, I haven't got a problem. Apparently it did something funny, that consciousness, that insight, did something funny to Alexander the Great, and it not enlightened him, but he realised something, and he settled his whole army down in northern India. And apparently, if you look at the Indians in northern India, they have a strong resemblance to Greeks, and they do. It goes into Pakistanis as well. So some northern Indians, some Pakistanis, they really do have a strong resemblance to Greeks. It might not be so obvious to anyone else that's not Greek, but to myself it's very clear. And then it got me thinking, you know, it's like, hang on a second, India's split in two. It's almost like the top part is the Greeks, and if you look at the bottom of India, they're more humble, you know, they're more softer, they're more vegetarian, they're more vegan, they're not so arrogant from the Greeks. I'm not saying Indians now, they're highly enlightened. That's how I see it. But it got me thinking, it's almost like it split the country in two. And then I remember, you know, Alexander the Great invaded the Middle East. It could be something else. Because if you look at India, you've got two sections, yeah? If you've got the top part with a different consciousness to the bottom part, I believe, and this is where I'm at present, I believe that essentially India is the energy body, the Merkaba. It almost looks like a downward triangle, doesn't it? And on top of that, there's an upward triangle, an invisible upward triangle, because the consciousness is split now. And that's the Merkaba. The Merkaba is the Star of David. So you've got an up triangle and you've got a down triangle, and they overlap. And they spin counterclockwise. So one spins one way, the other one spins the other way. So the Pleiadians, through the help of Alexander the Great and his army, have created the consciousness of the Merkaba within the country of India. And it gets better. Yeah? So you got, essentially India is in two, but they're the same, they're India. Then you've got the Middle East, like Pakistan, the more Muslim side. Then you've got Sri Lanka, the Sikh element. And then you've got Bangladesh, which is more the child element. So let's get this right. How did I do it? Essentially, within the brown-skinned people of that area, you have 5 different colours. And I believe they represent the 5 chakras within the body. Okay? So the Pleiadians have come here and they're creating an energetic matrix for the whole earth through India and hiding in brown skin. And they're activating 5 chakras. Now, I could be wrong on this, but this is where I'm at on it at the moment. I then believe you go to Japan, I could be wrong, but I believe if you go to Japan, they're almost like Japan and China, Asia, we call them the yellow tribe. But the Japanese are almost red-skinned. And I believe they could be from the Red Indians in Japan, have put their consciousness in the Japanese. And the Japanese are essentially the base chakra now. So you've got Pleiades holding the 5 chakras and the Indians holding the 5 chakras in the body. The Japanese holding the base chakra. And I could be wrong on this, but either the Greeks or the Swedes are holding the consciousness for the mind. And the Greeks for the Swede, and the Swedes, as I understand it, they're a bit more depressive than most white countries. The Swedes, they have this thing with depression, and the Greeks are a bit like that. You know, they're a bit more in their heads, the Greeks, you know. It's like, this is a joke. What's going on with society? I'm going to commit suicide. Fuck this life. They're a bit like that, the Greeks. They've got that attitude. They've had that problem. They've got a high suicide rate. If you look at Greeks, they're a bit more emotional, you know. I heard the story, you know, the further east you go in the Mediterranean, the more passionate you get. So you get a very passionate, emotional reaction to the world. And I believe between the two of them, the Swedes and the Greeks, you've got the mind chakra, which is just where I'm at. I don't know about the head so much, and the base chakra, but I'm pretty sure the Indians hold 5 chakras. And that relates to the 5-body Qigong. Now let's see if we can figure out the chakras and how they relate to specifics for you. Because I think I got there yesterday. So right, we've got no, I can't do it. I can't remember. But essentially, I saw how you can therefore further split India and the subcontinent into 5 different chakras, or at least possibly incorporating the Chinese, that area of the world. So it really is Asia. And Yeah, no, it was nice to see. I know that might not make sense to everybody, but that's as far as I've gone with the information so far, and that's as much as I can present right now. Now, I said the Pleiades, the Pleiadians. As I understand it, they're just pure light. But what I've been seeing in the spiritual element and what I've understood over the past, it's almost like they could hold a slight blue. Yeah, they almost hold like a slight blue tint colour to the light. So if you were to see a Pleiadian in its energetic form, it would almost be like light blue with pure light, and that connects again to Shiva. I think this is how it clicked for me in the first place. Shiva, the blue energy, you know, Tibet and India, they've got that blue being, and that's what connected it to the Pleiades. But yeah, it looks like a fun fest, man. Because on top of that, we've got the sky. And the sky, as I understand it, is Arcturus. So I'm just waiting for the big reveal. So if anybody's watching this, I think it's time to start breaking some eggs. Oh, connects to Greek tradition at Easter. We get eggs and we hit them on top of each other to see which one's hardest. So it's got all link in, man. It's got to. We need to get some highly advanced Indian Pleiadian beings and start hitting them against each other and breaking out that consciousness within inside of them to come out and stop my mental health. Forget everything else. Forget the wars. Forget the poisoning of the oceans. The dying out of whatever species that the Red Indians had to come to the planet for and claim sickness for. Get a Pleiadian Indian highly advanced light being, hit it against another one, so it can come out and stop my mental health disorder. What do you reckon about this one? This one's probably a bit lighter than I've been able to post for quite a while, isn't it? Anyway, happy Easter.